developing through the day, and temperatures certainly lower than they have been, and that will be a theme through the week ahead. Often dry, a mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures closer to average for the time of year.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening, it's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo. Tonight,
get out of these outdated human rights treaties and deport every single one of the illegal migrants who come to our country.
Well, a tale of two protests at migrant hotels today as hundreds of worried Brits continue to make their voices heard in the face of migrant madness. This woman reckons she knows whose side the police are on.
Witness for the first time in all my life, second-tier policing.
Also tonight, it seems every man and his dog, plus the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, will be at tomorrow's meeting between Volodymyr Zelenskyy and President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. Will we, though, see a repeat of the fireworks, the absolute fireworks, that we saw the last time the Ukrainian leader and the US President went head-to-head in the Oval Office?
Gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
And will they ever learn? With yet more Labour attacks on Nigel Farage in today's Sunday papers.
And it firmly places Nigel Farage on the side of predators and paedophiles and not on the side of keeping children safe.
has the government completely lost its marbles over the rise of Reform UK? Well, the government aren't afraid of motorists, though, because, in fact, they're ramping up their war on drivers by opening the way for more of those completely Orwellian and useless, in my opinion, low-traffic neighbourhoods. With me on the panel tonight, the Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell, and the GB News contributor and Saturday 5 star, Will Kingston. And the big issue on my mind tonight is asylum HMOs, or houses of multiple occupancy, taking over Britain's communities.
Watching Ben Leo last night, where a mother and her 2 children had been removed from a property so they could put 5 or 6 asylum seekers in there. What is this going to do with local communities? I watched Ben's programme last night and I was quite horrified.
Good evening to you. Thank you for your company on Ben Leo tonight. It was a tale of 2 protests today as fed-up Brits took to the streets in Epping and Canary Wharf. Let's start with the Bell Hotel in Epping in Essex. There it is on your screens, where multiple asylum seekers have been charged in recent months with various crimes, including sexual assault. Well, the atmosphere down there was jovial, it was peaceful and, in my opinion, constructive. Meanwhile, though, at the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf in central London, where a hotel migrant was this week charged with assault, police officers made 6 arrests as hundreds of protesters gathered to voice their anger. I chose to go down to the calmer of the 2, it turned out, in Epping in Essex this afternoon, where Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick was spotted speaking to locals about their concerns. This is what he had to say to me.
As far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, are you one of the first MPs to come down to one of these protests? I know Suella was in Waterlooville, but she's the sitting MP, right, so slightly different. Have you been down to one of these before?
I haven't, but I was driving into London and I knew this was going to be happening, and so I wanted to come and show my support and solidarity, frankly, for everybody that's here. I've been writing about this, I've been on the media, but I felt I should come and say that I support these guys. I understand why they're doing this, and they're right to do it. 170,000 people, mostly undocumented young men, have broken into our country. We've had all these hotels who are spending billions of pounds on this, and I think the patience of the British people has just snapped. Frankly, it probably snapped a long time ago.
Well, there's been a narrative, hasn't there, about these hotel protests, that they've been hijacked by the so-called far right, or racists have been bussed in from different parts of the country. I asked Mr Jenrick about who was protesting today and why they'd gathered.
This narrative from the left side of the argument that these are sort of far-right thugs and racists who have been bussed in. You've been speaking to a lot of these people. Tell the viewers, who are these people here?
Well, I chatted to a number of people. These are just really good local people. I've chatted to mums and their daughters, dads, granddads, young and old, some young lads, people who just are really worried about the impact this is having on their lives, on their community. And look, I understand that. You know, I've said that I wouldn't want this in my community. I would be worried about my own daughters who are 10 and 12 and 14, and I come to this from a very simple principle that if I don't want this for my kids and my neighbourhood, why should it be happening for anyone's kids and anyone's neighbourhood?
Meanwhile, down the road in Canary Wharf in central London, which saw protests outside the Britannia Hotel, we spoke to 2 of the self-proclaimed pink ladies who told us why they were there.
I've been speaking to the police, who have now put police officers and PCOs in the parks during the holidays, OK? Because as mothers and grandmothers, we've already seen people hanging around there. When they go back to school, we've got a pink patrol, because we're pink ladies, and we will patrol the Isle of Dogs to protect the children, because these guys don't. I witnessed for the first time in all my life second-tier policing, because we've been here. I asked for an escort on our First Ladies' march. I was told there wasn't anybody around. And then last Friday, the lefties had about 300 police all protecting them. That's not fair.
Allegations of 2-tier policing. You'll remember last night, if you tuned in, that I was in Bolton in Greater Manchester looking at the issue of HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, which are now being used en masse to disperse asylum seekers from hotels into private residential properties in communities like yours all across the country. So if you don't know what HMOs are, they're basically converted houses in streets up and down Britain which have 4, 5, 6, 7 or even more migrants crammed into while their asylum claims are dealt with. And as I revealed last night, for example, in Bolton, where I went yesterday, the city has gone from 107 HMOs to more than 700 in just a few years. I put the concern of the rise of HMOs to Mr. Jenrick today.
Are HMOs going to be the new hotels? The same sort of level of concern, protests and objections to where we house asylum seekers?
Yeah, look, I think they are, and this is almost like an attempt to cover up the problem. So maybe in time you close the hotels, which are very visible, and then everybody's moved into private housing, which perhaps you don't see so much, but it's still very impactful, and it's the same people, mostly undocumented young men. They might not be living in the hotel, but they might be living as your next door neighbours. At the end of the day, we just got to stop talking about how you manage the symptoms of this and how we actually fix it once and for all. And the answer to that has to be that you deport people who come here illegally.
Well, someone who was watching last night was the City of London councillor Susan Hall, the former Tory London mayoral candidate.
They may move these people out, they'll only put more people in, that's the first thing, and these people are then still going to be in exactly the same position. And where are they putting them? I was watching Ben Leo last night, where a mother and her 2 children had been removed from a property so they could put 5 or 6 asylum seekers in there. What is this going to do with local communities? And what's happened to that poor woman? And that must be replicated all over the country. I watched Ben's programme last night and I was quite horrified.
Well,
shameless, Ben. Absolutely shameless.
A shameless plug. Well, look, there is a glimmer of hope at the end of the migrant madness tunnel, I argue, because all this hotel nonsense could soon be, potentially, coming to an end if Epping Council wins a crucial High Court challenge on Tuesday next week, where they're bidding to get the hotel shut down by claiming the owners of the hotel breached planning laws. Epping resident and Reform UK branch manager Karen McIver told me what could happen if the result went their way.
This place does close as a result of that case. Will that set a precedent for the rest of the country?
Well, I hope it does. I really hope it does. But I've called Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper out on national TV twice and they've ignored me. I've said to them they need to come and see this for themselves. They've been very quiet. They haven't been here. And now you're seeing this rippling effect throughout the country. Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough. We don't want this in our backyard. No. We haven't asked for it, and it needs to close.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. The Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell, and GB News contributor and Saturday 5 superstar Will Kingston. Good evening, panel. Welcome.
Hi.
G'day. Welcome along. Bill, we'll start with you. What's your take on the ongoing hotel situation? And one thing I want to talk about in depth is the rise of HMOs, these houses of multiple occupancy, which I think, as I understand, the government is now using increasingly more to get these hotels' numbers down.
So the Bell Hotel in Epping is about 5 miles from my house. I know the area very well, and it concerns me what is happening. And I understand the grievances of ordinary people. However, it is a reality that in Epping, and some of the organisers of the Epping residents have expressed this concern, that some far-right groups are trying to get involved. The Homeland Party, the British National Party and others.
Yeah, the Times did a piece on that.
And that's unacceptable. But the key to this is reducing migration numbers, reducing asylum numbers. But as I've argued on this show before, that will take time. In respect of HMOs, the reason the government is trying to progressively end the use of hotels, and HMOs are less expensive than putting asylum seekers in hotels. But I acknowledge that creates a tension with people saying, well, why can't, if I'm on the housing waiting list, why can't I be put in a HMO? And the only solution to this is to bring the numbers down and to do what the government is committed to doing, which is a major house building programme.
Right, but the fact of the matter is the numbers aren't coming down, are they? It's more than 50,000 since Labour took power last year, so you just wonder, I mean, where does this end? I know we've spoken in the past, Bill, you and I, you've said, you know, give it time, they've only been in power for 5, 6, 7, 8 months. When do we start saying, hang on a minute, and even people like you who are Labour supporters, former Labour Minister, when do you start saying, right, Prime Minister, something's not working?
11 months ago.
I think the building blocks are in place. So the deal with France, the border security bill, which is just becoming law, a significant ramping up of returns agreements. I expect that to start having an impact over the next 6 to 9 months.
Okay.
But I'd be lying if I said it can and will happen sooner than that.
All right, Dame Andrea, what's your thoughts as a reform contingent here, seeing Robert Jenrick down at the Epping protest today? I think he was probably, as far as I understand, the first MP to go down to one of these protests. Suella Braverman was at the Waterlooville one in Hampshire, but she's the sitting MP, so it's slightly different. But, is good politics from Jenrick? Are you worried about him?
Look, I mean, Robert's a mate, is still a mate. And I think anybody who goes to call it out, brilliant. But we cannot forget that Robert was the immigration minister.
Absolutely.
And so, look, I spoke out...
He'd argue he did resign on principle because...
No, but how many years was he an MP? Sorry, a
and
minister?
the numbers were shooting through the roof whilst he was immigration minister.
Even as a backbencher, I was speaking out, holding debates and challenging the government. But look, I don't want to focus on Robert. I want to focus on the people. Look, the British public didn't ask for this. They've had no say in this with both governments. And I wouldn't want it on my doorstep. And, you know, I don't blame every parent out there going out to peacefully protest for your children's safety and your children's future. I found it heartbreaking, some of the recent cases, which obviously we won't go into the legal aspects of them, but as a parent, you know, we shouldn't no longer have to put up with this. But it's not going to change while we continue to be soft-touch Britain, which creates this pull, and they keep coming out.
So what would reform do?
Well,
say we have an election in 4 years.
Absolutely.
Nigel Farage is Prime Minister. What's happening on day one?
Well, on that press conference we did in London, about 6 weeks ago, Nigel said, look, about my comment about tents, we would process them, you know, you sort of agreed with it, but we'd process them, send them back. We're looking into a host country to send them to as well. But the most important thing is we've got to stop these benefits. We've got to stop them getting cinema tickets, stop them going in HMOs, which is actually...
Would you turn them back?
We've got to turn them back. That's the only thing we can do.
Okay.
And on top of that, stop them getting a daily allowance. If we are no longer freebie Britain, then they will not want to come here.
Will, your thoughts?
Billy's wrong. This is not some long-term project. If you adopt the Australian model when it comes to stopping the boats will stop in a matter of weeks, not months. If you make a public proclamation that if you get on a dinghy from Calais and arrive on the beaches of the United Kingdom or England, you will never be allowed to settle here permanently, the boats will stop in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
This is not a 6 to 9 month project. This is something which can be stopped immediately. Yeah. The reason why Labor are saying this is because instinctively, in their heart of hearts, they don't really want to stop it. It's not a part of their core ideology.
Absolute rubbish. You know, I've said many times...
I agree with you, Will.
I've said many times before on this show, the last Labour government dramatically cut asylum numbers, but it took time. And anyone suggesting that you can cut numbers just like that is either fooling themselves or misleading...
Why don't you just turn them back, Bill?
Because, well, OK, you could do that if we withdraw from the 1951 Refugee Convention. I don't think that's the right approach. But people who are genuinely fleeing for their lives, as a civilised country, we should process...
They travel through so many safe countries to get here.
Absolutely.
And that is the issue.
And do you know what? When we were in the European Union, Andrea, we had a mechanism to dealing with that. We're now, post hoc, having to reconstruct...
Well, we're paying France and they've got no motivation because they don't want to keep them, do they? It's ridiculous.
We've actually had the first migrants returned to France. I think in 6 months' time, as the numbers ramp up, you're going to begin to struggle to say that's not the right approach.
Can I suggest something that I think I'm observing that's happening across the country, which is this is getting so out of control that I think you're getting to a point where people who previously didn't really take much notice of politics or news or the migrant situation, and even people who did, are now... It's not just about illegal migrants. I am sensing, and I'm seeing online especially, a complete wave of we don't want anyone here. We don't want legal migrants, we don't want genuine refugees, we don't want illegal migrants. And the longer this nonsense goes on, the more... I suspect you're going to get more extreme views like that.
I accept that. And look, you know, I can argue that the boat crossings are only 3% of net migration, but they're very visible and very tangible to people. And that's why it's so important that the government does tackle it.
Can I show you something which is also very visible and tangible? I went to Bolton on Saturday morning. I went to one of these HMO streets. Bolton, I'll just remind you, 107 HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy, just a few years ago. Now more than 700. And of course, this comes off the back of Angela Rayner in June last year saying every part of Britain will be taking their fair share of migrants. And this 700. Is what she means. More than 700.
700.
I spoke to an Afghan guy who lived in one of these HMOs. He was an asylum seeker. And I told him, as we discovered and also reported in the Times, that the house he was living in with 5 other migrants was previously occupied by a young English mum, a single mum, and her 2 children. The landlord kicked her out so he could do a grubby deal with Serco and get more money and put asylum seekers in. This is the moment I told the guy about it, and this is his reaction. In this example, an English lady and her 2 children were told to leave. And then the landlord, the person who owns the house, gets refugees in and more money. So English person is left with no house, and then we have
children.
2 children. Yeah.
No house.
No.
Why?
Because she lived in your house, and the landlord kicked them out. So you and others could live.
I'm going to hear children. No, this is not. This is lying.
No, no.
No,
Before you guys moved.
No, you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4, 3, or 1 home for rent, yeah. You have 1 refugee person, and then you have 1 children. You give children in this home or refugee. Yeah, of course you bury this children. This is lying.
No, but the landlord kicked the children out.
No, this is
no. He did.
Why?
But why? Because it's more money. Because you know Serco, the management company, they pay more money if you have refugees, asylum seekers. The government gives them lots of money, so the landlord makes more money by having you guys in there instead of the English lady with their kids. So that's why maybe sometimes you may experience British people being a bit upset. So it's not your fault, but it's the landlord and the government and Serco. You see?
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You come here, you are escaping being killed, but that's maybe why sometimes you experience maybe British people are a bit cold, you know?
I'm so
Just one example.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so sorry. This is not good news. This is very bad news. I don't know.
So what does it say about the state of the country, guys, when even an asylum seeker living in one of these HMOs thinks, or is shocked that the government and the state is treating them better than British kids?
Ben, that's a fascinating conversation for starters. Well done. I think this HMO thing is just so deceptive because it's the same core concept as a hotel. Just because it is a 1-storey house as opposed to a 10-storey hotel, you are still giving free accommodation to people and you're creating an incentive for people to get on a boat and come to this country. And I think this is what people are so annoyed about, is that it feels like the government are tinkering around the edges as opposed to actually, to what Jenrick said, dealing with the root causes.
So you'd withdraw from the Refugee Convention, which even Australia hasn't done?
Very happy to, yep.
Look,
it was created at a very different time. It is no longer fit for purpose.
Then amend it.
Look, this HMO situation's been on the go decades, and it's been abused by landlords. This is what we really need to put a stop to. Look, even when I was a councillor in Boston going back 12 years ago, it was when we was in the EU then, people was coming over in HMOs, charged an extortionate amount. There was one loo there, there was throwing bags with poo in out the window because there was one loo, and the landlords exploit it so many times. So I think actually we need to put a stop to these HMOs.
Well, HMOs in their nature can be quite useful. Lots of young professionals use them in London. They're basically house shares.
No, but
for the migrant situation,
it's got to be checks and balances by any government, any council.
And look, I said earlier, it's cheaper than hotel accommodation, but it then creates another set of problems.
But it's more in the centre of the community
well, it is.
as well.
And, you know,
and that's the danger.
Just along the road from where I used to live, there was a 3-storey house that was used as a HMO with asylum seekers, and it creates a lot of...
Do you know what I would do?
I can find some tents that are cheaper still.
Well,
I could do
that's
this
what I've been
really
saying.
very much on the cheap.
Look, I've been saying tents for ages, right? Look, Ben, what I think we need to do, all those politicians, the lefty ones in your party, I'm afraid, Bill, you're a bit more reasonable than some of the front bench. You know, let's set HMOs up next to their house and let's see then if they're actually getting fed up.
That's the point. Why are there now 700 in Bolton? Because it's cheap housing.
Exactly.
Because it's easy to do, and because the area is, you know, is more, I'd say, vulnerable financially than, say, Weybridge in Surrey or wherever else.
It's a bit more complicated than that.
It's not.
There is a north-south divide, and the demand for social housing in most towns and cities in the north is not what it is in the south, which is why you have the dispersal.
I disagree, because look, I was an MP for 9 years in a Yorkshire Northern Sea, and I had people 8 or 9 years on a waiting list who was in B&Bs, in bedsits, trying to get home, and they had children. 8 or 9 years. And so it's not a north-south divide.
Admittedly, it's a long time ago, but I remember talking to colleagues in Leeds where the council couldn't get shot of 3- and 4-bedroom houses, council houses, because there wasn't demand.
It's not the case.
All right, and just finally, Will, I think actually you're wrong as well, talking about tents and detention centres. I think even that is a red herring. It's getting bogged down in detail and debate. We shouldn't be talking about how to manage these people when they're here. They shouldn't be here in the first place.
Exactly.
Do something about them not coming. They should not be stepping foot on British soil. And I'm afraid to say, Bill, I'm kind of going along with the agreement of the online consensus that I see, where this has got so out of control, the illegal situation. It's getting to a point where people just don't want anyone here. They don't want genuine refugees, when previously they would have opened their heart to it. They don't want legal migrants here. It's just getting to such a contentious point.
Do you know what, Ben? You just said you don't want detail and debate. No. You're only going to resolve this problem with detail and debate.
Enough talking. I'm done with it. Britain is done with it. No, should we put them here or should we put them in houses? How much should they get a week on Aspen cards? Should they have bus passes into town or not? Should we put them in detention centre? No, waste of time. Stop them coming in the first place.
British people are struggling.
Like in the real world.
Stop debating it.
And Australian migrants are at risk every day. I am prejudiced against all the time.
Yeah. Right, not on this show, Will. A Serco spokesman has said Serco is in agreement with the Home Office stopping the acquisition of more accommodation for asylum seekers in Bolton. We take all appropriate steps to confirm the suitability of addresses and work closely with the local authorities who are directly involved in the selection of individual properties. Very good. Let us know what you think on that. gbnews.com/your say. Next, I'll look ahead to Donald Trump's massive meeting with Volodymyr Zelenskyy in the Oval Office tomorrow. Sir Keir Starmer's also there, every man and his dog as well, but why is the big question. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, Sir Keir Starmer's about to go on his travels again. Of course he is. The Prime Minister's heading to Washington, D.C. tomorrow and will be at the big meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy as they try to thrash out a peace deal in Ukraine. Sir Keir won't be short of company either because leaders from France, Germany, Italy and Finland, for some reason, will also be there, as well as major figures from NATO and the European Commission. Well, let's cross live now to the United States and speak to the political commentator Hilary Fordwich. Hilary, good afternoon, where you are. Is it afternoon, Hilary?
Yes, it absolutely is, Ben. Good afternoon, good evening to you.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for your company. What to make of this this drama in DC tomorrow? It started as a meeting between the President Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy, and now it seems all of Europe's coming over. Are they just keen for a photo opportunity or what?
Well, let's hope it's more than that, Ben. There's really only three things that Vladimir Putin cares about. He doesn't care about the 20,000 Russians that died just last month alone. What he does care about is he cares about his economic security and the future of Russia. He cares about diplomatically being accepted into the world, not being a global pariah. And he also cares about the fact that he will not have a military defeat. Those are the three things. Now, this is not America's war whatsoever. Obviously, under Biden, we know that this happened. And we also know that under President Obama, of course, that's when Putin first went into Crimea. So why are the European leaders coming? Because President Trump was the only one that got actually Putin to the table. And he is hoping, and I think the European leaders are probably hoping too, that first thing I mentioned, economic power over Putin. He does not want his economy destroyed, Ben. And purchasing fossil fuels from Russia is something that, first of all, India should not be doing and China's doing. Maybe the EU can slap tariffs on India for absolutely everything if they continue to purchase Russian oil. But let's hope the EU will put economic sanctions on and will put some pressure on this in terms of settling this and coming to peace.
Do you think the deal that's been presented or thrashed out between Putin and Trump, does it provide an off-ramp for Putin?
I think it does, because obviously what he wants to make sure that he keeps those two regions in the Far East there, Donetsk and Luhansk. So he wants to keep those. If that's agreed to, but the problem is, can you ever believe anything the man says? Obviously, there needs to be some sort of enforceable and some sort of structural deal that is able to be, it will be held. And that's very tough with Putin. That's what Trump was trying to get. It wasn't finalized, and hence the European leaders now weighing in, and they should, because this is not for the US to decide. It really is for Zelenskyy, and it's on Europe's doorsteps, of course.
Hilary, can I ask you, please, how much do Americans care about this war between Russia and Ukraine? I mean, are they over it? Do they want it? I mean, do they want the president to be focusing on more domestic matters, for example?
Yeah, actually, Ben, this is really sad. I'm not going to speak for the whole of America, but I'm just going to quote sources, all right? 83% of Americans, according to a YouGov study, cannot, on a blank global map, cannot put their finger on, sorry, but London, Israel, Ukraine, or Vietnam. Now, that's 83%. And to answer your question directly, they always talk about every election in America, in quotes, pocketbook issues, which is a handbag in English. And you know what that is? Bill Clinton ran on, it's the economy, stupid. And Ronald Reagan ran on, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Sorry, people care more about the price of petrol, which they call gas over here, and their paycheck. Sorry.
Can I ask you then, Hillary, why is President Trump so keen to sort this situation out? Do you believe him when he says he wants to stop the killing?
Yes. You know something, Ben? Well, you just nailed it before I got to.
Sorry.
Ben, he is the only leader that you hear constantly, as a family man with children and grandchildren he cares about. Ben, he's the only one who keeps talking about the number. And actually, by the way, he talks about Russia. That's how I know that 20,000 Russians died last month, because President Trump keeps saying it. And I've been in situations with many leaders and they talk about, that's what he talks about. Let's stop the killing, stop the killing, stop the killing. I think he truthfully cares. And going back to the three things Putin cares about, one of the other things President Trump cares about, he wants to go down in history as the president of peace. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. That's his incentive to do this. Sadly, though, the American public only has a short wick on this, Ben, because, just to your point, they care about their pocketbook far more, economics, and the midterm elections are coming up. So this better be done quickly. That's another incentive for Trump so he can turn back to the economy.
Yeah, Hillary, and just talking of Nobel Peace Prizes, your namesake, Hillary Clinton, not sure what kind of lobotomy she's had, but she said if Donald Trump could broker a peace deal, she'd nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. So that was an interesting concept.
Oh, yeah. Well, always remember, Ben, I'm the one L. She's two L's, which is the wrong way to spell a female Hillary. But anyway, no, she's very seriously now. Everybody might wonder, why on earth is she supporting Trump? Well, you know, there is an investigation about to commence with regard to those 40,000 acid-washed emails, let alone the circle of death around the Clintons, and let alone the Epstein files. So I think there's another reason why she said that. But you know what? We'll take it. If that's what she's willing to do, it is a good thing to do, because hopefully the world will get on board with this president of peace.
Hillary, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. 1L, Hillary Fordwich, political commentator, stateside. Thank you. We'll speak soon. Welcome back to the panel. Will, Andrew, Bill. Bill, why is Keir Starmer going tomorrow?
Because he and other European leaders and others want to ensure bluntly that the Ukrainians are not shafted. And I think that's really important. I mean, you know, I was in the States in the last week, and Trump's absurd and bellicose boasting about his negotiating skills were really demonstrated for the hogwash that it is. He laid out the welcome carpet for Vladimir Putin. You know, sanctions off the table, all sorts of status given to it. And the body language at the press conference afterwards was absolutely revealing, because Trump had got absolutely nothing. And he's now suggesting that, you know, Ukraine should start ceding vast parts of its territory that the Russians don't even currently occupy in return for a deal.
Russia already has about 75% of Donetsk. Sorry, Will.
Bill, it's one thing to say that the European leaders don't want Ukraine to be shafted, but what power do they have to actually stop that?
I actually think the pressure that's been put on Trump in the last week, even though I think this summit was a disaster, it could have been even worse without that pressure being put on. So I think they can put that on. But, you know, I actually found myself today, for once, agreeing with Boris Johnson, writing in the Mail today, where he said the talks and the way that Trump conducted it was the most vomit-inducing episode in the history of international relations. And I think he's on the money with
that. Is that Boris Johnson, the man who has been accused, although he's denied, of scuppering peace deals in Ukraine early on in 2021?
But let's not forget, though, that it's actually Trump who got Putin to the table. You know, and we cannot underestimate that. This it's been in business. He knows how to negotiate. I do believe. No, but I do believe that he will pull something off. Now, I do think, though, look, if I was Ukraine, I wouldn't want to cede territory. I wouldn't want to here in Britain. I've always supported the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian Centre. I even took a group of them to meet David Cameron when he was Foreign Secretary. But I do think now that this never-ending war, that the British taxpayer is actually switching off from it now. Even though it's significant for Europe and the West and our safety, I do think people are switching off, and because people are struggling. So we've got to think of that aspect.
But to get a deal, there does need to be compromise on all sides, but you don't press for that deal, as Trump has done, by basically parroting friendly...
Are you really giving Donald Trump advice on how to broker a deal?
I
think multi-billionaire businessman.
Yeah, and yet how many bankruptcies has he gone through?
Well, that's not the point. That's not the point. From the Abraham Accords to more recently with the Armenia situation, the Thailand situation, he has got a very strong track record now of negotiating peace deals.
He said he'd resolve the Ukraine-Russia conflict on day one. He said he'd bring peace to the Middle East. Neither are remotely in prospect at the moment.
No, but the fact is, people have been... Look, where Putin's concerned, we should be using the card of the UN Security Council, them being one of the lead members. You know, how can they be a lead member when tens of thousands of Ukrainian children are in hands of Russia now? We've got far...
Shut the whole thing down.
Yeah, we've got... Well, yeah,
that reminds me, did you see, just before we move on, panel, did you see Melania Trump's letter?
Oh, it was amazing. As a mother, I cried when I read that. I think of the fear of those tens of thousands of children.
We are very pushed for time, but I need to read you just an extract of this letter. So this is Melania Trump, Donald Trump's wife, the First Lady of the United States. Find it online and read the whole thing. I thought it was more powerful than any weapon on the battlefield today.
Come on, guys.
What?
Do you honestly think Vladimir Putin will give two...
That's not the point.
S's about
listen to this. Listen to this. Dear President Putin, every child shares the same quiet dream in their heart, whether born randomly into a nation's rustic countryside or a magnificent city centre. The dream of love, possibility and safety from danger. It goes on, blah, blah, blah. Yes, in today's world, some children are forced to carry a quiet laughter, untouched by the darkness around them, a silent defiance against the forces that can potentially claim their future. Mr. Putin, you can single-handedly restore their melodic laughter. In protecting the innocence of these children, you would do more to serve Russia than you've ever done before. You serve humanity itself. Such a bold idea transcends all human division, and you, Mr. Putin, are fit to implement this vision with a stroke of the pen today. It is time. Sincerely, Melania Trump.
Do you know what? I think Melania's time would be much better spent trying to persuade her husband not to sell Ukraine out, because that's the real risk of what
Okie doke. Coming up, I'll talk to the man who's behind the decision that means one of Britain's biggest sports, horse racing, I love it, a great British institution, will go on strike for one day next month. It's going to cost them a hell of a lot of money as well. And guess what? It's because the government, of course, wants to increase taxes that could lead to thousands of job losses. Back in just a sec.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heatwave conditions continue across much of central western parts of the Mediterranean. Plenty of sunshine, though there are a few thunderstorms around. Looking at the bigger picture for Monday, sunny spells across much of the Canaries. It'll be a lovely few days to come here. Spain and Portugal seeing some heat, the risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms later, but a real risk of thunderstorms across Italy and into Greece, 1 or 2 of these on the heavy side. But the main outlook is for it to be warm and settled.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a bit of cloud in the next few days across many parts of the UK, but there will be some warm sunshine at times, and we are keeping a close eye on some showers, potentially even thunderstorms across the southwest of England on Monday. That's courtesy of this weather front just approaching from the south. Otherwise, though, high pressure keeps it dry for most of us through the week ahead. There is going to be quite a bit of cloud pushing in from the North Sea as we go through this evening and overnight, so eastern and central parts of the UK turning fairly cloudy. But that cloud will act like a blanket, so generally temperatures not falling too low, and most towns and cities staying in the mid to low teens Celsius tonight, a little bit cooler further west where the skies stay clear. That cloud will also bring 1 or 2 spots of drizzle perhaps by the end of the night in places. So a very cloudy start to the day on Monday compared to on Sunday in southern parts of Britain. Some sunshine though for southwest England, western parts of Wales too, Northern Ireland, Cumbria and in particular western Scotland, where there should be plenty of sunshine through the course of the day, and those temperatures really quickly rising in that strong August sunshine further west. Cloudier and cooler though further east, and that cloud will only very slowly break up as we go through the day on Monday, so quite a cool and grey day to come for northeast England and parts of the Midlands. Otherwise the sunshine breaking through increasingly so through the afternoon, but certainly Scotland and Northern Ireland seeing the best of the sunshine, the highest temperatures on Monday. For southwest England though, the chance of a few showers, maybe even thunderstorms, particularly in the morning for Cornwall and potentially for South Wales by the afternoon. Those showers will still be around as we go into Tuesday, potentially across southwest England and the south of Wales. Perhaps the odd heavy and thundery one in places too. Otherwise, a lot of cloud around on Tuesday, but some brightness developing through the day. And temperatures certainly lower than they have been, and that will be a theme through the week ahead. Often dry, mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures closer to average for the time of year.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here, and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, it seems that almost everyone's got on strike recently, doesn't it? Doctors, nurses, train drivers, bin men, well, they've all walked out. But now an entire sport is taking strike action. All 4 meetings scheduled for September the 10th in horse racing have been cancelled as the industry fights the government's plan to increase taxes on betting. The CEO at the British Horse Racing Association, Brant Dunshea, is the man behind the decision to go on strike, and he joins me now. Brant, thanks for your company. This is a really sort of pivotal decision that you've made, or proposed at least, for next month across, first of all, how many courses, how many tracks, the likes of Lingfield and Kempton, I think, are included, but how much is this going to cost the industry, and why are you doing it?
Thanks, Ben, for the opportunity to speak this evening. Look, the reason we're doing it is it presents us with an unprecedented threat in terms of our financial sustainability as a sport. There will be the 4 fixtures that are cancelled on the 10th of September. And fundamentally, the reason we're doing it is because we want to create the space for all of the industry's leaders, the media and politicians to come together and hear from us at an event in Westminster, where we want to advocate clearly to government and ministers that the risk of harmonising the tax on race betting with that of online casinos, will impact us to the tune of 66 million in the first year, based on independent economic analysis.
66 million.
Yeah, and 2,700 jobs in the first year. So for us, given that we're more than just a sport, we're a cherished part of British culture. 59 race courses up and down the country. Our supply chains employ around 85,000 people across the country. So we need to get that message that we are a major employer, bringing communities together up and down the country.
Yeah. And not just that, not just the economic side of it. As you said, it's a great British institution. Jumps racing, I'm a particular fan of jumps racing. The flat as well is great. But this all comes off the back, just to be clear to viewers who don't know what's going on. The Treasury is proposing to increase the gambling tax, that the profits you're taxed on, from 15% to 21%. Is that right?
Yes, they're proposing a harmonisation of the taxes, and the tax of 21% is that's currently relates to online casinos, and we don't expect government will be looking to harmonise downward. So our expectation is that there will be at the very minimum a 6% increase in the tax on race betting.
And do you think the government will respond to your threat of a strike? Are you speaking to them? Are you around the table? What's going on?
Yes, look, we've got the all-party parliamentary group of politicians that are allies of the sport, and they're doing a great job in advocating our position in Westminster. we believe we're getting cut through, and we believe that that government are listening. And so the purpose of this particular event is to send that message loud and clear of the consequences, the unintended consequences of this proposed policy decision.
Yeah, OK, Brant, thanks very much. Good luck. I hope, as a racing fan myself, I hope you don't strike, because, as you said, it's going to cost the industry a lot of money, so many workers. You think of, the bookies, the yard workers, people who work at the tracks and so on, even jockeys who won't get the rides that day. It's going to affect so many people, but good luck, and we'll be keeping a keen eye on it. Bill, very quickly, why is the government just going after everybody, taxing this, taxing that? Why don't they come up with their own ideas to generate money?
Because there's a massive demand for public spending. Look, there may be the need in the budget for tax increases, and I happen to think that taxes on gambling are probably one of the least worst options that's available to the government. And this is about moving from 15 to 21%, bringing it in line with online slots and casinos.
Yeah.
And I think most people would see that as reasonable.
I would argue that online casinos are completely different to the great sport of horse racing, where, you've got culture, tradition, history, the magical horses, the beasts. You can go take your kids to horse racing, have a picnic. That's a bit different to sitting on your phone and punting on roulette, like, inanely through the early hours of the morning.
But you are partial to, though.
I'm partial to
No, but 2,000 horses die a year, apparently.
They do, but they wouldn't be there in the first place if it wasn't for horse racing. So, right, time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win, the great opportunities to be mortgage or rent-free for a year, plus £5,000 in tax-free cash, or if you haven't got a mortgage or rent to pay, 15k in tax-free cash as a lump sum. Here's all the details you need to win.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say.
How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, Labour has stepped up its war on motorists, surprise, surprise, by ditching plans to limit the rollout of hated low-traffic neighbourhoods. I think they're pretty Orwellian, and 20-mile-per-hour zones, and I think they're pointless. The controversial schemes have angered residents and business owners all across the UK, and now Labour has reversed Tory proposals to make it more difficult for local authorities to introduce so-called LTNs, low-traffic neighbourhoods. I'm joined now by Donica McCarthy, who's the director of the Climate Media Coalition. Donica, why do you hate motorists so much?
Come on, Ben, that's a really unfair question to start. As a parent, I know you value the safety of your kids.
I value big gas-guzzling cars that I can take my kids safely to nursery and school in.
Yeah, I'm sure your kids will sometimes walk on the street, and I hope you will want them to be safe, Ben. I know you care about your kids. This is Orwellian, you're right, this is Orwellian. The Daily Mail has for 5 years launched a campaign called War on Motorists. The actual war has been on kids' safety. The idea that people are waging war on motorists when actually who's being killed? Not motorists by pedestrians or by kids cycling. It's the kids that are being killed. Do you know, Ben, 15,000 kids are injured, maimed or killed on our roads by drivers every year? And what should we stop
driving then? I mean, that's awful, but should we stop driving?
So how many kids do you think should be killed or injured in our roads every year?
I'd rather than none. I love children, including my own children, of course. But I'm saying again, do we stop driving? Do we reduce the speed limit to 5 miles per hour? Donica, what do you want to go to?
This is what this is exactly about. If you have a speed limit of 30 miles per hour versus 20 miles per hour, you kill 8 times more people.
OK, what's the ideal speed limit? What speed limit would you want, Donica?
20 miles per hour is what I support.
Right.
And actually,
Any lower?
the vast majority of drivers polled support 20 mile per hour zones in urban areas on kids' streets. They support safe cycle routes to schools, and they support low traffic neighbourhoods because the amount of crashes come down in low traffic neighbourhoods by 70%. This is a serious subject. We're talking about safety. The Daily Mail is waging war on kids, and it must stop.
OK, last word. Is your biggest concern the climate, i.e. lowering carbon emissions from cars, or reducing accidents and people seriously injured and killed?
I founded a group called Stop Killing Cyclists to save the lives of kids in London cycling to school. And actually what we have successfully done is brought down the death rate by 50% by safer cycle lanes and by LTNs. We're proud of that.
OK, Donica, thank you so much. Appreciate your company. Have a good Saturday night. We'll catch up soon. The Roads Minister, Lillian Greenwood, said the Tories' plans had been, quote, put on hold, and the government is now considering appropriate next steps. And a Department for Transport spokesman has said the government's absolutely on the side of drivers, focusing on making journeys safer and smoother and saving motorists money. We're making our roads safer to drive on, and we'll set out the next steps for the road safety strategy over a decade in due course. Coming up in just a tick, the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, including Lisa Nandy's got herself in a little bit of hot water, depending on what side of the argument you sit on, by wearing a pro-trans T-shirt. As I said, the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages coming up in just a tick. First, though, let's get a look at your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A bit more in the way of cloud developing this evening and overnight in the east, but a sunny end to the weekend for the vast majority, and those winds will be easing down across the far southwest of England too. High pressure will dominate through much of the week ahead, but this weather front may just bring a few showers to the very far southwest of England on Monday. But a fine and sunny picture through the rest of Sunday afternoon and evening for the vast majority, but that cloud across the North Sea coastal regions tending to push its way a bit further westwards as we go through the overnight hours, perhaps bringing the odd spot or two of light rain or drizzle in places too. But that cloud keeping temperatures fairly high tonight, so a milder night to come and lows generally of 14 or 15 Celsius in the main towns and cities. As we begin the day on Monday, then a fairly gloomy and grey start for some northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Relatively misty in places perhaps too, but much brighter skies further west. Blue skies and wall-to-wall sunshine for the vast majority of western Scotland. Some sunshine too for northwest England and Northern Ireland. And western parts of Wales and southwest England will also see some sunshine as well. Quite a bit cloudier elsewhere, though. That cloud really fairly slow to burn off and break up, I think, as we go through the day on Monday. So a much cloudier day to come compared to on Sunday, particularly across the Midlands and northeastern parts of England, where it may not clear through much of the day, but most places seeing at least some sunshine developing, the best of which probably across western parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And here we could see highs of 25 or 26 degrees Celsius. Generally a little bit cooler elsewhere compared to of late, and certainly on those North Sea coasts with that breeze coming in, feeling a little bit cooler. A few showers across the southwest of England through the afternoon, the odd thunderstorm drifting northwards towards southwest Wales perhaps in the evening, but generally those fading away as we go into Tuesday, so lots of fine weather through the week ahead. Not as warm as it has been, and there will be some cloud around, but feeling pleasant.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello Hello, good evening. It's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight.
Get out of these outdated human rights treaties and deport every single one of the illegal migrants who come to our country.
It was a tale of two protests at migrant hotels today as hundreds of worried Brits continue to make their voices heard in the face of migrant madness. This woman reckons she knows whose side the police are on.
Witness for the first time in all my life, second-tier policing.
Also tonight, it seems every man and his dog, plus the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, there he is, will be at tomorrow's meeting between Volodymyr Zelenskyy and President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. Will we, though, the big question, see a repeat of the fireworks the last time the two leaders went head-to-head?
Gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
And more Labour attacks on Nigel Farage today in Sunday's papers.
And it firmly places Nigel Farage on the side of predators and paedophiles and not on the side of keeping children safe.
As Nigel Farage would say, boring. Has the government completely lost its head over the rise of reform? The government, meanwhile, aren't that afraid of motorists, however. In fact, they're ramping up their war on drivers by opening the way for more of those Orwellian and useless low-traffic neighbourhoods, LTNs. With me tonight on the panel, the Mayor of Greater Lincolnshire, Dame Andrea Jenkins, the former Labour Minister, Bill Rammell, and the GB News contributor and Saturday 5 star, Will Kingston. And the big issue on my mind tonight is asylum HMOs, or houses of multiple occupancy, taking over Britain's communities.
Watching Ben Leo last night, where a mother and her two children had been removed from a property so they could put 5 or 6 asylum seekers in there. What is this going to do with local communities? I watched Ben's programme last night and I was quite horrified.
Welcome along to Ben Leo Tonight. It's 10 o'clock. Let's look at the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, and we have a brace to kick off the 10 o'clock hour, starting with the Financial Times. The headline reads, Zelenskyy and European allies seek security guarantees in Trump talks. Of course, this is the meeting tomorrow in Washington, D.C. between President Trump, Zelenskyy, and, of course, as I said, it seems every other European leader, including Sir Keir Starmer, who has taken the opportunity again to get on a plane, enjoy business class and travel somewhere. The Metro. Outrageous rail fares rise. This will get me absolutely frothing. As nationalisation nears, user groups anger at above inflation increase after 4.6% last year. Anyway, long story short, rail fares are due to go up 5.5% next year. That was on top of the 4.6% rise this year. I mean, what do we get for our money? A declining service, I'd argue. Clearly not very many stories in the papers, or indeed papers themselves, out at this precise moment, and the stories that will adorn the front pages of the other papers, I suggest, will be Russia, Ukraine. However, there is one decent story doing the rounds in the Daily Telegraph tomorrow, and it involves a one Lisa Nandy, who has been criticised for wearing a trans rights T-shirt with the slogan, Protect the Dolls. So the Culture Secretary, of course, Miss Nandy, was at Wigan Pride in her constituency yesterday, and there she is pictured on the right-hand side wearing the T-shirt in question saying Protect the Dolls. Now, Protect the Dolls is a slang term, reportedly, from the 1980s for biological men who pass as women. Trans people who do not look as feminine are referred to as bricks. The slogan's previously been criticised as both misogynistic, as it compares women with dolls, and also transphobic, as it excludes those who do not succeed in looking like the gender they identify with. I mean, it all gets a bit complicated. Anyway, keeping up yet? Lisa Nandy, Bill, she's under some heat tonight for wearing this T-shirt. Do you think she knows what it meant? Have you heard anything on the grapevine about this?
No, I haven't. But I do think it is perhaps ill-judged. And look, people can support transgender people, but there has been a very, very welcome supremacy of women's rights in the last 6 months, particularly around the Supreme Court ruling. The fact that the government, despite some opposition, has now imposed a chair of the Equality and Human Rights Commission who's got a very strong track record of gender-critical beliefs, I think is positive. And I think this pushback, if that's what it is ill-advised, to say the least.
Can I just read you a quick quote from Fiona McAnena, who's the Director of Campaigns at the human rights charity Sex Matters, a friend of the channel. She said, "Protect the dolls is the latest trans activist slogan designed to centre trans-identifying men at the expense of women and girls. No elected representative of the public, let alone a government minister," Fiona says, "should be promoting the slogan of campaigners who are calling for men to be able to identify into any space for women, even those needed most, such as toilets, changing rooms, refuges and prisons. The Secretary of State with responsibility for civil society should know better than to align with a movement which calls for the law to be flouted. This is naive at best."
But here's the thing, Ben. Sorry, Andrew.
No, I'm just really frustrated at this.
No, do you know what? You're quite right. In a conversation about women's rights, leaving you last week.
No, I'm just so sick of this. It's ridiculous. But they're trying to cancel women. I mean, I did my speech last week about women's safety for reform, and we are being cancelled. And do you know what I found the irony? Protect the dolls. Dolls don't have any genitals, but the trans keep the genitals. So, you know, if you want women's genitals, get them, or get the operation. Because something I remember being in Parliament. I know I'm going off at a tangent now, but I remember being in Parliament having a briefing on this, and it's something like only 8% of men who want to identify as trans women, only 8% actually have the operation to get the bits chopped off. And I think that's very strange. You want to be a woman, get them chopped off.
Will, when's your op?
He's at it. It's just the NHS is so useless at the moment. I can't actually.
Some red lipstick looked lovely on you, actually, wasn't it?
Booked in, unfortunately. The tragedy here for the left is that they've made identity politics their guiding mission over the last 10 years, and some of them now, as the world is moving on, can't let it go. They've made racial and gender hierarchies the defining mission of the left because apparently, you know, kind of old school socialism got a bit boring. This is why these people now are still wearing these stupid T-shirts and still marching, because they just can't let it go as the world moves on.
Do you rate Lisa Nandy, Bill?
I do broadly, but I think this is a misjudgment. Look, you know, I think the government's position has moved wholly in the right direction. And I just said, you know, the appointment of the chair of the ECHR with a strong track record of supporting women's rights is a very positive move. But I will acknowledge I think there's a minority of Labour MPs who are still, and you know, I don't want to disrespect them, and it is right to campaign for transgender rights.
Wasn't Rayner one of them, the Deputy Prime Minister? She was, I'm not saying she was trans, but I'm saying she's one of them who campaigned for the trans community.
But I think there is a minority who don't support, for want of a better phrase, the Supreme Court ruling, and I think that's wrong, and they need to get in behind the move that has taken place.
Should Lisa Nandy be sacked? There are calls tonight, apparently, according to the Telegraph, for Nandy to be sacked. Sir Keir Starmer should, make a move, basically.
No, I don't think that's the case.
Will, you say no as well?
No, I don't think this reaches the threshold to be sacked. But I just think it's stupid politics.
I don't think there is a threshold now to be sacked.
Brilliant. No, you're right. You're so right.
You know, 10 years ago, I mean, we can't talk about the Verizon Norton situation too much. It's a legal case, but 10 years ago, Bill, maybe you'd agree as a former Armed Forces Minister, if that had happened, somebody would have resigned. Yeah. Maybe the Defence Secretary would have resigned.
What, you're talking about the Afghan...
Palestine action.
Yeah, not putting a fence up around him.
Raiding Verizon Norton, allegedly.
Yeah,
damaging aircraft.
I'm not sure that would have led to a resignation. And if you go back in history, this idea that there was a kind of halcyon days where, you know, ministers fell on their sword at a drop of a hat, I don't think that's borne out by the facts.
Oh, OK. All right.
Do we have 30 seconds? Yep. I know I'm speaking to two current politician, former politician. I think that principles in modern politics are few and far between. I think there are less conviction politicians. I get what you're saying, that we look back with rose-tinted glasses, but I do think that the politicians of time gone by were people who had more conviction generally, who had more principles generally, and were in it for the right reasons.
We need to go transport back to the 80s, don't we? That's what I think.
And why is that? I argue we should pay politicians more. I know that it's a very controversial opinion, especially when they're not giving themselves pay rises, but the independent body is pumping up their pay by, 3, 4, 5% every year.
Although, do you see one of the MPs in my old seat is now using an online AI bot to actually answer the correspondence.
Oh, really?
It's ridiculous, yeah.
Oh, it's quite shrewd, I don't know. But I think we need to pay MPs more. We need a higher...
No, I don't think that. It's now about 91 grand a year, which I think...
I don't think that's enough. Well, if you want to attract the best, top FTSE 100 CEOs, entrepreneurs who would be giving up, I don't know, 300-400k salaries, you need to pay them proper money. And I'm not saying 90k is paltry money in the grand scheme of things. Of course, it's a massive amount of money.
Look, having been a mayor now and an MP, it's harder work being a mayor, I must admit.
Really?
The brief, the hours you've got to put in than it is an MP. I think in your days, Bill, it was harder to be an MP when they work through the night on votes. That happened few and far between now. We had it during the Brexit years. But look, you know, most of the time on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, they do the last vote at 7 o'clock. And some might not go in till, what, 11 or 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's the same as it was in the 80s.
OK, you know from your own experience that the vast majority of MPs of all parties put in 80-hour weeks. And the idea that...
I don't think that is the case now, Bill, unfortunately.
I certainly
really don't
think it is. But there is a kernel of truth in what you're saying, Ben. And I actually think it's due to the fact, you know, the vast majority of MPs are in politics for the right reasons, but there are not the defined ideologies that there were in the 80s and the 90s.
Right.
And therefore, you know, people are looking over their shoulders.
There's too many career politicians.
And they're looking at focus groups instead of, you know, conviction resignations. I think.
No, but they all think they can be the Prime Minister. Do you know, give me an MP who doesn't want to be the Prime Minister. You know, that it's like, oh, precious Lord of the Rings, you know, that they're eyeing at number 10.
I don't think that...
Oh, the majority of them. Oh, my God, of course they are. The egos. I mean, I'm a politician...
Would you like to be Prime Minister?
No, I'd be a bad Prime Minister. I'm a politician who doesn't like politicians, I'm afraid. Yeah.
OK, let's look at the front page of the Metro. Yeah, there's not very many papers out yet still, but the Metro's out, and this one outrages me. I know it's not very sexy for a Sunday night, but I'm going with it anyway. Outrageous rail fare rises. 5.5% next year is being mooted, on top of the 4.6% increase last year. Commuters getting absolutely shafted, and I have to say my experience with the trains this week alone has been abysmal, completely abysmal. And now, Bill, commuters, passengers are being shafted even more.
I think the government needs to grip this. I think rail fares in this country are, and certainly if you compare them to the rest of Europe, are far too high. But there is a challenge here, and it's why I'm not an unadulterated fan of nationalisation, because for all the ills of privatisation, one thing it did very well was bringing in capital investment into the railways. And I really fear for where the capital investment is going to come for the rolling stock and the trains into the future. And that's part of what is driving an increase in fares.
Well, no, it's actually them striking. There's 4 more days in August, isn't there, that they're going to be striking?
This is an interesting...
That's what I've just looked online. It says 31st to the 3rd of September?
Yeah,
or is that an old one?
Upcoming cross-country strike from Thursday the 14th, so that was this week, until the 23rd.
So no wonder if there's these strikes and they're having to raise wages, that no wonder rail fares are going up. It's got ridiculous. I have driverless trains, that's what I'd have.
I agree with Bill on privatisation. My question is, why is Reform, a nominally right-wing party, promoting nationalisation policies?
No, but that's in significant industries. For example...
Because they're all over the place.
No, it's not. It's, look, you know, I was a Conservative for many years who was against privatisation, but having... worked with British Steel, understood the significance of it, and the final, British-owned oil refinery, what's looking likely to close. These significant industries are different because it's about, for example, energy security. I think that's different.
Bill says you lot are all over the place, Reform.
No, well, Labour would say that, but how can Labour say that with the amount of U-turns they did with slippery start?
Farage is engaging in political cross-dressing, and I just lamented the fact that there's not enough conviction and ideology in politics, and he is demonstrating in the way he's trying to position Reform exactly that ill.
No, I disagree.
I mean, on this topic, can we move on to the...
Why are we doing so well in the polls, then? You know, we are connecting to the public.
Because people hate Labour and the Conservatives.
No, but it's more than that. They want people who they can believe in, who fights for them, and Reform's the only party who's actually fighting for them and saying the things that matter.
We're not where we need to be, but you've got less than a third of the vote. That is not a winning position in mid-term.
Hang on a minute.
History backs me up.
Bill, surely Starmer got a lower vote share than Jeremy Corbyn last year.
Yeah, and look at the polls on head-to-head. Starmer beats Farage by about 15%. Indeed, every other party leader beats Farage.
I don't know what poll is that?
It's Murray poll, about 6 to 8
Probably
weeks.
one.
The C projections I've seen at the moment, at least for most of the polls, now have Reform winning in their own right.
Absolutely.
Why are... OK, if that's the case, then everything's fine and dandy and Labour...
No, I didn't say it's fine and dandy.
No,
I think the situation needs to change.
I'm being facetious, but why then have Labour been on such a very... I must say, I'm not just saying this...
They've had no honeymoon period, have they?
Such a bizarre attack on Nigel Farage week after week. Peter Kyle comparing him to Savile. Then you had John Healey saying that he's a Putin apologist. Then you had Angela Rayner in today's Telegraph saying that he's a misogynist. And now a new Labour attack advert saying that Nigel Farage is suggesting that he's great buds with the likes of Andrew Tate. I mean, it's just persistent. For a party who Keir Starmer got up at the dispatch box and took the mickey out of by saying they could fit their MPs in the back of a cab, they seem to care a lot about them.
Look, you know, there is a process going on of trying to pin Farage down, and Farage holds views that are out with where the majority of people are in this country. Whether it's support for Donald Trump, where about 65%
support for Trump. He's the president of the United States. But...
No, but Farage has gone down the road of slavish support for Donald Trump. That's not where the British people are. Whether it's support for private sector solutions in the NHS, or indeed whether it's support for Andrew Tate.
Did you see the press conference with Trump and
an extreme misogynist, and I think the government is
Trump and Starmer. You know, Starmer's not exactly standing up to Trump. Do you see the press conference?
Yeah, when you're in government, you have to work with the biggest superpower in the world.
Yeah, David Lammy was out fishing with J.D. Vance.
Look, the fact is, why the Conservatives and why the Labour Party keep attacking Nigel is because they fear Nigel. They know that Nigel would become the next Prime Minister. So both of them, look at both parties' social media, day in, day out, attacking reform, attacking Nigel. Because, do you know something? Where is the Conservative Party policies? They talk about reform. Where's the Conservatives?
I don't think it is outside the realms of possibility that you could have reform and whatever Corbyn's party is named being 1 and 2 in the next election.
OK, yeah, just on Jeremy Corbyn, I always say that, you know, of course, I do not agree with him politically at all. He's a raging commie, but at least you know what he stands for.
There's conviction there.
And he's been consistent for many, many decades.
And he's been consistently wrong.
And
I agree with that. We all agree with that, don't we? Yay.
Sultana has attacked him over his support for anti-Semitism.
Sorry, say that again.
That Sultana has come out and attacked Corbyn, and remember, they're supposed to be the joint leaders of this new enterprise for his position on anti-Semitism.
These guys are going to be so entertaining over the next few years. I can't wait.
OK, more front pages. Hopefully, fingers crossed, if the media gods are looking down on us in just a tick. But first, time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance was 2 weeks left, actually. Your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year and have £5 in cash on top. Or if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, you can grab 15k in a tax-free cash lump sum. Here's all the details you need to win.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, very good luck to you. We'll have more front pages in just a second. And I'll also tell you why there's more bad news for Prince Andrew. Apparently, droves of friends have come forward with sordid details about his quote-unquote extravagant past. He, of course, insists he's been a very good boy. Anyway, back in just a tick.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
We're reigning supreme this morning. I'm so happy.
Did you watch it then? Did you enjoy it?
I was a nervous wreck.
Yeah,
honestly. Why did it come down to the crunch like that?
Because it's England. You know what? No matter whether it's the women or the men, it still keeps you on the edge of your seat. But they've got this resilience. The thing is that we've never seen with the men before. I suppose it's changed a little bit, but it really is that. I don't want to use any cliches, but that's my job. That's my job. Never say die attitude. And it was terrific. Do you know though? For how long, out of the 3 knockout games that England played after the group stage, for how long they were actually ahead?
Go on.
Don't worry, I'll tell you. 4 minutes and 52 seconds across 3 entire games was the amount of time they were actually ahead. Doesn't matter. Doesn't make any difference.
No. Yeah.
They came back and they won. It was brilliant.
Would it have been better? I was going to say.
Are you looking at
you know, but in terms of if we'd had a stronger game, if we'd been really punching in this rather than it going right down to the wire.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it really. I honestly don't think it matters. It's just about who wins, and when you've got a trophy. Which is up for grabs there, and also for the second time that the Lionesses have done it, and they were underdogs. I mean,
were they?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. You'll have players that will say, "Oh no, I don't think so." And I said to you on Friday, there wasn't much in it.
Yeah, they were of equal
but the Spanish team were the favourites. They're the world champions, and also pound for pound, if you look player for player, again, there's another cliche for you. They would have been the better side, but it's a team game. It's how everybody reacts together, how everybody plays alongside each other, and the management.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, and hallelujah, I should say, more like. I'm so excited I can't speak. More papers have dropped, finally, starting with the I paper. Students face yearly tuition fee hikes to bail out struggling universities. The Sun, they go on Strictly again. Strictly stars stalker terror. A female harasser is hunted by cops. The Daily Telegraph, Europe tells Trump, don't give in to Putin. And there's a picture there of Emmanuel Macron on some sort of hoverboard. I know he likes to play the tough man, doesn't he? I'm not sure if I believe him, but he looks pretty agile in that picture. The Independent, Starmer heads to Washington to support Zelenskyy. Key European leaders, including the Prime Minister, will accompany the Ukrainian leader at the White House for that meeting tomorrow. And the Daily Express, Britain's 10 million junk food addicts. I am probably one of those.
Me too.
Yeah, all of us. Are you at home? gbnews.com/you'll say. What's your junk food of choice? I'm joined now by the editor-at-large of The Mail on Sunday and the Royal Scoop getter, Charlotte Griffiths, for everything royal. Charlotte, good evening.
Evening.
Welcome along. Prince Andrew's probably sweating. Well, he doesn't sweat anymore, does he? I was going to say he's probably sweating at some proposed new revelations, but yeah, what's going on?
Well, I interviewed Andrew Lowney this week,
and he did that book about Prince Andrew that's just come out, and it was sensational. And we know a lot about Andrew, but even so, the revelations were sensational. And
just remind us of one or two of them, the previous ones.
Oh, just about his dodgy business dealings, Epstein, using his daughters to kind of get dodgy business people over to the UK for their birthday parties.
And also just a bit of a bugger to his staff, maybe. But,
more revelations about how he shouts and screams at his staff, his sexual exploits. I mean, it really went into major detail.
That was this book that's just come out.
So that was this book, and what's happened is, since reading the book, friends of Prince Andrew have said, do you know what, I've been keeping his secrets for long enough. I'm going to tell you even more. And what happened was, Andrew approached loads of quite reputable, important people, and they said, of course I'm not going to, get involved in your tawdry little book. And now they've read the book, and they said, actually, do you know what, I am going to come forward. I think it's, it's not right, the secrets I'm keeping. So whatever's going to come out in the next book, it's going to come out next summer, and he's having to rewrite the original book from scratch. He's not, because there's always a paperback where you add a couple of chapters, but he says there's so much now coming forward that he's going to start again.
Has Andrew contributed to the book? Has he commented? Has he denied allegations in the book?
No. He's so not contributed to this book.
I listened to a podcast on this, and apparently he had the author had one meeting with Sarah Ferguson, and she was initially tempted to actually contribute, but then they pulled back. My question would be, do you think it is better for these people who are the subject of books like this to actually contribute and put their side forward, or just to pull back and not be involved?
It's a tricky one. I'd say probably is, but there were so many allegations, they'd have to go through each one. It's a 300-page book, they'd have to go through each one and deny it, and then you get yourself all wrapped up in knots. It'd be like Newsnight all over again, When you are Prince Andrew, you have to be very careful what you confirm and deny, because the truth could come and get you at a later date.
But isn't it a bit that the new reality is catching up with him? I think I've said on this programme before, I've met Prince Andrew as a minister probably more than any other member of the royal family, and I think you can make a critique that he's oafish, buffoonish, but some of the stuff coming out he would have got away with in the past, but the standards for the modern monarchy make that unacceptable, and that's what's coming home to roost.
And also, he's bred from a different generation. He was spoilt by the Queen. He lived in a world where you could be completely over the top and ostentatious, unlike Prince William. William's all about, trying to at least pretend that he's thrifty and all the rest of it, although he's just got a brand new palace to move into. But, he was sort of brought up in that era, and as you say, I totally agree.
But even in the 80s, he was known as Randy Andy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He's always had this reputation, hasn't he?
And he was the spoilt son.
Yeah, and even then we knew that Charles was, of the two of them, a bit better behaved, a bit better brought up, all that kind of stuff.
Not really had an affair all those years, didn't he?
Yeah, well.
But before we move on to other royal stories, what is Andrew doing these days? Is he just sort of trotting around Great Windsor Park, or what's he up to?
Oh, I mustn't say too much, but a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend I was having drinks with him this week. He was just having lovely rosé in the garden in the sunshine, I gather.
And, is he what's he doing? Is he working? Is he painting?
No, I honestly think he just sits around with Sarah, sort of having friends over, having little dinner parties.
Watching TV.
Not doing very much.
Probably watching Ben Lears tonight. Andrew, if you're watching, you're welcome on the show.
I didn't mean oafish and buffoonish, by the way, Andrew.
His daughters spend a lot of time with him, and they bring the grandchildren over, and he kind of dotes on them.
Right.
And he rides the horses around a bit. He's taken up horse riding.
Oh, all right for
Not
some.
much of a life.
All right for some. Yeah. What else is going on?
Well, the other thing that's happening to Andrew and Fergie is their new next-door neighbours are going to be Catherine and William. They're moving into Forest Lodge, which is really quite close to Royal Lodge, and it makes me think that they're almost kind of ominously encroaching on Royal Lodge because, of course, Andrew and Fergie will not move out of Royal Lodge.
They're just rattling around.
Yeah, they're rattling around.
Does the King still want to keep them out?
For the first time ever this week, I heard mood music that they're starting to resign themselves to moving out, whether it will actually happen or not, because they have got some sort of legal right to be there.
And just for viewers who aren't sort of up to date on the sort of geographics of royal residencies, and these are all properties in Great Windsor Park.
Yeah, sorry, they're all in Windsor. They're all in Windsor Great Park, and they're all dotted around. Frogmore Cottage, where Meghan and Harry lived, was around there as well, and obviously Windsor Castle. They all seem to prefer Windsor. There seems to be a real move away from Buckingham Palace, which is obviously being refurbed, and Kensington Palace, which nobody seems to use anymore. They call it the aunt heap. Aunt heap.
Oh, right.
Because it's got all the random old aunts living in it that you've never heard of. And, yeah, Windsor's where it's at now. And Catherine and William got this amazing new place called Forest Lodge, which is 8 bedrooms. Crucially, it's a house, not a palace, so it allows William, as he becomes king down the line, to sort of look like he's all humble and down with the normal guy. But, of course, it is a fabulous 8-bedroom Georgian mansion with a ballroom. And, you know, by my standards, it's not really a house, it's a palace, but technically it's not a palace.
And what's happening to Frogmore, Harry and Meghan's old gaff that the Queen lent them?
It sits there empty. It obviously got decorated for 2.4 million quid, so it's really nicely done. Apparently it's kind of quite Soho Housey in style. They got a Soho House interior designer to do it. Wow. It sits there empty because, and this is a rumour, but because apparently they're just all praying that at some point Andrew will come to his senses, realise he deserves to be in more humble surroundings and will move there. So they just keep it empty.
But I tell you what, I've got a question. If we're doing royal gossip, Andrew and Fergie have got to be the closest divorced couple that I know.
Yeah.
From all your sources, is there any prospect that they're actually going to reconcile properly?
There was a rumour about 5 or so years ago that they were going to get remarried, but I don't think it's a romantic relationship. I really think it's a friendship, and it baffles us all. Even our, you know, the most hardy of royal watchers can never really work it out. They're sort of best friends. She keeps all the secrets, of course.
Was it meant to have been Prince Philip, who didn't like Fergie, and that's what stopped him initially getting back together?
Yeah, she wants to cling on to ties to the royal family, and he doesn't really have anyone else.
Well, he has very few other friends, and as you say, she is very loyal to the crown. She always sort of trots out the party line. I think, weirdly, Charles is very fond of her. You're right, Philip absolutely hated her, and in Andrew Lowney's book, he revealed that Philip had a sort of dalliance with her mother, Susan Barantes, which has never been verified, and Jacob Rees-Mogg said, look, you can't make these claims. But, you know, that's going to be the focus of this new Prince Philip book that Andrew Lowney's bringing out. That's going to be kind of the first big revelation.
OK. Great stuff. Thank you, Charlotte. You're staying with us, aren't you, for the rest of the show? Excellent. That's what I'd like to hear. Stick with us on Ben Leo tonight. Lots more coming up, including more front pages. But next...
I'm not sure that Parliament's going to benefit from more Putin apologists like Nigel Farage, to be honest.
Oh, it's all a bit tiresome, isn't it? After several personal attacks on Nigel Farage over the last few weeks, Labour have stepped up their campaign today. I'm asking, are the government scared of the reform leader? Are they scared, Andrea?
100%.
No prizes for guessing what you were going to say. This is Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Quite a bit of cloud in the next few days across many parts of the UK, but there will be some warm sunshine at times, and we are keeping a close eye on some showers, potentially even thunderstorms across the southwest of England on Monday. That's courtesy of this weather front just approaching from the south. Otherwise, though, high pressure keeps it dry for most of us through the week ahead. There is going to be quite a bit of cloud pushing in from the North Sea as we go through this evening and overnight, so eastern and central parts of the UK turning fairly cloudy. But that cloud will act like a blanket, so generally temperatures not falling too low, and most towns and cities staying in the mid to low teens Celsius tonight, a little bit cooler further west where the skies stay clear. That cloud will also bring 1 or 2 spots of drizzle perhaps by the end of the night in places. So a very cloudy start to the day on Monday compared to on Sunday in southern parts of Britain. Some sunshine though for southwest England, western parts of Wales too, Northern Ireland, Cumbria and in particular western Scotland where there should be plenty of sunshine through the course of the day, and those temperatures really quickly rising in that strong August sunshine further west. Cloudier and cooler though further east, and that cloud will only very slowly break up as we go through the day on Monday, so quite a cool and grey day to come for northeast England and parts of the Midlands. Otherwise the sunshine breaking through, increasingly so through the afternoon, but certainly Scotland and Northern Ireland seeing the best of the sunshine, the highest temperatures on Monday. For southwest England though, the chance of a few showers, maybe even thunderstorms, particularly in the morning for Cornwall and potentially for South Wales by the afternoon. Those showers will still be around as we go into Tuesday, potentially across southwest England and the south of Wales. Perhaps the odd heavy and thundery one in places too. Otherwise, a lot of cloud around on Tuesday, but some brightness developing through the day. And temperatures certainly lower than they have been, and that will be a theme through the week ahead. Often dry, mixture of cloud and sunny spells, and temperatures closer to average for the time of year.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, good debate coming up now because today I went down to the Epping Hotel migrant protest. Lots of locals voicing their concerns about the current situation with the Bell Hotel, where, of course, 2 migrants, at least in recent months, have been accused and arrested and charged with various criminal acts, including sexual offences. Robert Jenrick, the Conservative Shadow Justice Minister, was down there, and this is what he told me.
This narrative from the left side of the argument that these are sort of far-right thugs and racists who have been busted in. You've been speaking to a lot of these people. Tell the viewers, who are these people here?
Well, look, I've chatted to a number of people. These are just really good local people. I've chatted to mums and their daughters, dads, granddads, young and old, some young lads, people who just are really worried about the impact this is having on their lives, on their community. And look, I understand that. You know, I've said that I wouldn't want this in my community. I would be worried about my own daughters who are 10 and 12 and 14, and I come to this from a very simple principle that if I don't want this for my kids and my neighbourhood, why should it be happening for anyone's kids and anyone's neighbourhood? So
All right, so there we go. That was fun. I think Robert Jenrick was probably one of the first MPs, if not the first MP, to go down to an active migrant protest. I know Suella Braverman went to one in Waterlooville in Hampshire, but it's her own constituency, so it kind of counts, kind of doesn't. Anyway, Matthew Stadlen, friend of the channel, left-leaning contributor on this channel, has tweeted tonight, quote, Robert Jenrick, the Tory Shadow Justice Secretary and former Home Office Minister, joining protesters outside an asylum hotel is one of the most disgusting acts by a frontline British politician in living memory. The tweet's been viewed nearly 100,000 times. It's had a pretty generous 2,000 likes by people, other people calling Matthew Stadlen a few choice words. But I thought it was an interesting debate. Bill, why would Matthew Stadlen come to the assumption or conclusion that this is one of the most disgusting acts by a British politician in living memory, just by going to a migrant protest?
I think you're going to have to ask Matthew.
You don't agree with him?
I don't agree with him. It was a peaceful protest. Members of Parliament can turn up to peaceful protests. So I don't think that's the criticism, but I think there is a criticism of Jenrick. And we touched on this earlier, he was the immigration minister when immigration numbers and migration shot through the roof. And, you know, he's a Johnny-come-lately who's got all the answers now. Well, he didn't have them when he was in government.
I said in the last hour, I mean, he's not here to defend himself, but he would say he resigned as a minister because he wasn't happy with the direction of travel.
And the numbers had already gone through the roof as part of the decision-making process that he was involved with.
I think it's about... I want to talk about Matthew Stadlen, the most annoying person on TV in my books. I mean, literally, he's only putting that on Twitter because he wants to get on TV more because he hasn't got a proper job. He works like what does he do, 2 days a week?
He loves you too, Andrea.
No, but it's the most annoying person I've ever met.
Well, look, Matthew isn't here to defend himself. I will ask a producer
if you pay him, he'll get you on the phone.
I will ask
him
the
on the
producer
phone,
now to call Matthew if he's awake and get him on to try and explain this tweet. But he's not here to defend himself.
No, but how can he say about that when we had the expenses scandal, Blair and the Iraq War, the cash for peerages going back? There's so many. What a ridiculous thing to say. So that's what makes me think it's just about him being relevant or trying to be relevant and get the media.
I can't top that. Well, do you know what? I can't top that. I'm just going to let that sit.
That's because I know you don't like him either.
If we get him on, of course, we're playing into his hands because we're immediately booking.
I know we are,
tweet.
yeah, exactly.
I'm surprised he got so many likes, actually. That's quite a lot, isn't it? I didn't realise he had that many followers.
I take Bill's point. This is the problem for the Conservatives more generally. The easy response to every single issue is you guys either didn't address the problem or you caused the problem. But at the same time, I think Genrick has been very successful with this brand of retail politics that he is now delivering. And, you know, I think he's probably the star performer in the Conservatives.
But it's wider than Genrick. There's a story out tonight that the Tories on a WhatsApp group were criticising the government on asylum and immigration, and the Broxbourne Tory MP has hit back and said, this is crazy. We were responsible for this crisis.
One thing I would like to talk about, Bill, maybe you can comment on it, is this sort of transformation of MPs who are now venturing into doing their own content, their own videos. I mean, Robert Genrick went to Northern France in recent days, so did Chris Philp as well. I understand they weren't aware that they were both going to Northern France to do the same kind of thing. Chris Philp, of course, did the migrant, the illegals working for Deliveroo at the hotels and so on. Genrick did the fare evasion stuff. Lots of Labour MPs are doing their own Instagram, TikTok things. This is a new phenomenon, isn't it? It seems...
No, they copied Nigel. He's always done that.
You think they're copying Farage?
Absolutely. It's the playbook of Nigel, who does it successfully, and they're just copying him. Of course they are.
I say this as a news journalist.
Imitation's a form of flattery, as they say.
TikTok viewers outshine all newspapers combined, I'm afraid, in this country. It's very depressing.
And Farage's TikTok account beats everybody's, all the parties combined. Yeah,
they're just doing what they have to do. It's the modern way. Although I would say Genrick did have a front page on last week's Mail on Sunday, so he's keeping it old school as well. But they're just doing what they've got to do. Times are moving on.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting how the job sort of description has sort of...
I don't like to see politicians lip-syncing, though, do you, to videos? I find that cringeworthy, do you?
Yes. But maybe I'm just getting old and crabby, but, you know, politics being predominantly conducted on TikTok, I don't think is a good way forward.
But under 16s are going to be able to vote. I mean, 16s are going to be able to vote.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, how else
balance,
do you think they're going to the newsagent and buying a newspaper? And I really say that with a lot of sadness in my heart.
No,
I am a journalist.
Newspapers.
You'll be out of a job, Charlotte.
I know. No, I really will be. It's worrying. Luckily, the Mail is there. That's fine.
That's right. You're always welcome here, Charlotte. Always welcome here.
Maybe tweet like Matthew Stadler, then you'd be the media.
Right, talking of Labour and Farage, are Labour running scared of Farage because they've stepped up their attacks on the Reform leader again today? Labour posted 2 images on X, formerly Twitter, earlier. Here's one on your screen now if you're watching on television. The first is a photo of Mr Farage with the businessman and social media personality Andrew Tate. The second image was about the Reform leader's opposition to the controversial Online Safety Act. It says, Nigel Farage wants to make it easier to share revenge porn online. Of course, this comes off the back of Peter Kyle suggesting Farage would support the likes of Jimmy Savile, John Healey as well, saying that he was a Putin apologist. And Labour MP Rosie Writing appeared on GBNews this morning. She was asked why her party's making such personal attacks on Farage.
Let's be clear, Nigel Farage and Reform are our main opposition, and leading up to the next election, they should be coming forward with policies and be able to answer the questions that the public have about how they will keep young women and girls safe online. I don't think if he wants to govern this country, I think it's right that he has to answer those questions about policy decisions.
There we go, Dame Andrea.
Look, this is a Labour playbook. I remember the election last year, they're doing it in front of Rishi. Look, they said, put a tagline out, do you think adults convicted of sexually assaulting children should go to prison? Rishi Sunak doesn't. I mean, what do you think that thieves should be punished? Rishi Sunak doesn't. So they've now realised that the Conservatives are finished, so they're now moving it to Reform. And this is what this is about. This is them trying to discredit a party that is soaring in the polls.
I find that image so pathetic because it's from 2019. It's so obvious.
The Andrew Tate one.
Yeah, the Andrew Tate picture with Farage. They're obviously clutching at straws. They're going over the old history books, trying to dig out a picture of him with Andrew Tate and then create a narrative around it.
So if you're listening on radio, the image on screen now says Nigel Farage says Andrew Tate is an important voice for men. Andrew Tate said women should bear responsibility for being sexually assaulted. And there's a picture of Farage with Tate from, I mean, it looks pretty old. You say it's 2019.
And all of that is factually true. And it demonstrates what I was saying earlier, that on a number of issues, Farage is not where the British public are. You look at...
Why are they leading in the polls, then?
Well, yeah,
every poll bill for the past 6, 7, 8 months has reform top.
Yeah, if you...
You love a poll, and now the polls are going...
I do, and are the...
But where's the Labour honeymoon period?
Are the polls putting the Labour Party where I would want them to be? No, emphatically not. But are these polls demonstrating by the history books that reform is a bank on certainty to be the next government? No, they most certainly
We're still 4 years away.
Yeah, exactly.
We will form the next government. I genuinely believe
and
that.
I really think you won't.
Well, we'll have to have a bet. £100 bet. You've seen it on here, then.
I
there
think
we
where
go.
I disagree probably with both of you is that people are not voting for reform in those polls. They are voting for them because they despise the Conservatives and they despise the Labour Party. And that is...
Do you know, I disagree, actually, because during my election this year, I mean, we're talking farmers in traditional Tory areas. I mean, I got nearly 40,000 majority, people were supporting reform. Now, we had Tory farmers who were saying, we've had enough of the Conservative Party, you are the only party, Reform and Nigel, that we believe in. Equally, it was in solid Labour areas, you know, like the Grimsbys, the Scunthorpes, and they were saying they do not trust Labour and you are the only party to save Britain. So they actually believe in Nigel, because don't forget, Nigel, this has been, what, a 30-odd career where he's actually been on the right side of history with a lot of things, and finally now people are believing in him, and I think that's brilliant.
I think there's an element of truth in what you're saying, Will, that, you know, this in part is because...
You'd like to believe it's a protest party.
It's opposition to the two main parties. But the experience of Labour canvassers on the doorstep in elections and by-elections is there is support for the Reform Party, but when it's personalised in terms of Farage, that support drains away because he's an utterly polarising figure, and for every one vote that he attracts, he repels two others.
Well, everyone hates Starmer as well. Like, you know, he's managed to get in.
Yeah, but I said earlier, you know, head-to-head in the polls, people still prefer a Keir Starmer Prime Minister to not...
That's that one poll that you mentioned,
So you've just cited a poll as evidence of your claim, but when I gave you poll after poll of Reform leading every survey for the past so-and-so months, you kind of rubbished it. So do you believe in polls or not?
No, I do believe in polls. And if you look, I've made this point on this show before, go back to the early 1980s, the then SDP was at 51% in the polls. It lost the general election 2 years later by a landslide. Right. The low 30s or the high 20s, which is where Reform are, is not an election-winning position.
Reform also stormed the local elections. Dame Andrew got elected, amongst other mayors.
We live in a different political landscape. This is no longer a two-party system. This is a five-party system now.
Splintering is certainly taking place, and I think we've got a much more fractured political system than we've ever had in the past.
OK, stay with us on Ben Leo's tonight. According to The Guardian front page tomorrow, which I'll show you after the break, the IDF is preparing to force 1 million people out of Gaza City. On top of that, if you're looking for some good news, we've got plenty of it as well in our good news section. Back in just a tick.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Heatwave conditions continue across much of central western parts of the Mediterranean. Plenty of sunshine. Now, there are a few thunderstorms around. Looking at the bigger picture for Monday, sunny spells across much of the Canaries. It'll be a lovely few days to come here. Spain and Portugal seeing some heat, the risk of 1 or 2 thunderstorms later, but a real risk of thunderstorms across Italy and into Greece, 1 or 2 of these on the heavy side. But the main outlook is for it to be warm and settled.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Yeah. Chris, let's have a look at, I think, one of my favourite stories this morning. And this is the daughter of the inventor of the Freddo chocolate bar, which we have in front of us. Now, I remember at school these were 10p.
10p, 20p?
You remember them at school?
Yeah.
So we had a discussion, an agreement, and I was
you can have yours now.
absolutely hammered.
Are they the same size as the worst?
I think they've got smaller, you know.
Of course they have.
Or maybe I've got bigger.
Well,
No,
we have all got
that's-
bigger. You haven't actually got any bigger. You're still tiny. But yeah, they have got smaller. Shrinkflation is a thing.
Is a thing. Yeah.
Depending on where you buy them, you can actually spend £1 for one of these, and they are tiny, weeny, as you can see there. I haven't bitten mine off yet.
18 grams, they're tiny.
The more shocking part of this entire story, Chris Akabusi, is that Chris is the only man on earth.
I've never heard of a Freddo.
What? Who's
I've never heard of a Freddo. I cannot believe. And look, there's no way. And then Dawn was trying to tell me that they were around when I was a kid. Absolutely.
You haven't lived. Eat it now. Open.
There's no way that a Freddo. I don't. You know. And then I was thinking. He says here that Freddo is used as a common yardstick to track inflation. No, it used to be the Mars bar.
No, it's the Freddo.
It used to be the Mars bar.
The humble Freddo.
This is. So what's so special about the Freddo?
Just eat it. It's amazing. Cheers.
Oh, cheers, my dear.
Bing.
Well, Chris, tracking the financial index yesterday,
yes,
I decided to have a Mars bar, and I was able to have 2 of them because they were so small.
Yeah.
So tiny.
Absolutely.
And thin.
Absolutely.
A disgrace of what a Mars bar used to be, or an Aztec bar, or a Topic bar, or...
Yeah, there you go.
Anything, yeah.
But you don't remember Freddo.
No, so
we are the same
Wagon
generation.
Wheels, Curly Whirly.
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Big story breaking in the Telegraph tonight. It will be in tomorrow's paper. Record numbers of Britain's most prolific shoplifters are avoiding jail. So get this. Nearly 6 in 10 chronic thieves were spared prison last year, including one woman with 315 previous convictions, and another woman who helped steal £145,000 worth of goods in shopping trolleys from Tesco. So basically, you can have 300 convictions and still not be jailed. I mean, Charlotte, this is crazy.
I just don't really understand it. Is it because, Will was saying earlier, because literally the prisons are full, or they're thinking, OK, so theft isn't dangerous, so we'll just have to disregard that because the police are so overstretched that they have to now just pick crimes that are more dangerous and go with them.
Well, yes.
It's insane.
Katie Bourne, the policing chief, she's the Sussex Police and Crime Commissioner, she said a couple of days ago there was no point police arresting shoplifters because the courts just aren't dealing with them properly. There's no prison space, they're not getting sent down, so they just don't bother arresting them.
But the whole system's broken, isn't it?
Here's the thing, Charlotte. The police are not prioritising serious crimes. Quite the contrary. We saw during the week where you had those female police officers going out trying to get people to catcall against them and highlighting that. There's non-crime hate incidents. They're on the internet all the time looking for, tweets. They are not prioritising serious crimes. They're prioritising nonsense.
Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, look, if you've been convicted, if you've got 315 previous offences, you should go to jail. But actually, in terms of strategy, there is a good approach from the government. Shoplifting under 200 quid was decriminalised by the last government. That's now been reversed. They're using facial recognition technology. They're working with retailers. As often with this government, it's just not being communicated.
Jury vote. Who thinks shopkeepers should be armed with tasers to tackle thieves? Will?
Go for it, absolutely.
Absolutely. You're going to have mob rule. I mean,
it's not mob rule. It's
well, you can't rely on the police and the government to defend Brits at the moment, can you?
That's right. We now live in a low-trust society. The police are not doing their job. The government is not doing their job.
So what?
Bring on the tasers.
What's changed, Will? Why are we in a low-trust society now? I don't remember it being like this when I was young.
Exactly.
Any ideas?
Crime levels were much higher when you were young, Ben.
Were they?
Yes, they
Ben,
were.
I think
look at the crime survey, which is ordinary people giving their experience of crime, and that's the picture.
The parties told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. There was no final.
There was less boat people then as well, though, wasn't there?
Ben, I suspect that you were fishing for an answer, and I'll give you the answer that you want.
Never.
Go on then.
Mass migration and multiculturalism.
Right.
My biggest bugbear has only happened in the last year, and I'm obsessed with it. It's all the bulletproof glass going up at Tesco's. Because, but there are old people that their thing that they do once a day is go to the shops and have a little chat. And I feel so sad for the community that you can't talk to them through this glass. And this is long after COVID. It's nothing to do with COVID.
And I think that's a really important point. There are still too many restrictions in place from COVID that are still carrying on today. You know, I said I've just come back from the States. Do you know the Heathrow Express coming into Paddington used to be every 15 minutes. It's now half an hour. When I spoke to one of the guards and said, why? COVID. COVID ended.
My Tesco man said it's because people spit at him.
Right, that's all for me. Thank you so much for your company. We're not going anywhere, though, because Ben Leo tonight, late edition, is coming up next. Dame Andrea, thank you for your company. You are evacuating. Paul Cox is here in just a tick. See you after your weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. A bit more in the way of cloud developing this evening and overnight in the east, but a sunny end to the weekend for the vast majority, and those winds will be easing down across the far southwest of England too. High pressure will dominate through much of the week ahead, but this weather front may just bring a few showers to the very far southwest of England on Monday. But a fine and sunny picture through the rest of Sunday afternoon and evening for the vast majority, but that cloud across the North Sea coastal regions tending to push its way a bit further westwards as we go through the overnight hours, perhaps bringing the odd spot or two of light rain or drizzle in places too. But that cloud keeping temperatures fairly high tonight, so a milder night to come and lows generally of 14 or 15 Celsius in the main towns and cities. As we begin the day on Monday, then a fairly gloomy and grey start for some northern and eastern parts of Scotland. Relatively misty in places perhaps too, but much brighter skies further west. Blue skies and wall-to-wall sunshine for the vast majority of western Scotland. Some sunshine too for northwest England and Northern Ireland. And western parts of Wales and southwest England will also see some sunshine as well. Quite a bit cloudier elsewhere, though. That cloud really fairly slow to burn off and break up, I think, as we go through the day on Monday. So a much cloudier day to come compared to on Sunday, particularly across the Midlands and northeastern parts of England, where it may not clear through much of the day, but most places seeing at least some sunshine developing, the best of which probably across western parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. And here we could see highs of 25 or 26 degrees Celsius. Generally a little bit cooler elsewhere compared to of late, and certainly on those North Sea coasts with that breeze coming in, feeling a little bit cooler. A few showers across the southwest of England through the afternoon, the odd thunderstorm drifting northwards towards southwest Wales perhaps in the evening, but generally those fading away as we go into Tuesday, so lots of fine weather through the week ahead, not as warm as it has been, and there will be some cloud around, but feeling pleasant.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
What does it feel like to be a Great British Giveaway winner?
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Do you know what? I've never won anything like this in my life.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
That is absolutely fantastic.
We're over the moon.
Yes, that is fantastic.
You know, you have no idea how much I needed it. Oh my goodness.
You've won £54,321.
Please don't joke. This would change my life.
Oh, thank you so much. I was gobsmacked. Thank you, GB News.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it. If you're not in it, you've got no chance of winning it.
Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
You really could be our next big winner. Head over to gbnews.com/win now to find out how and get your entry for the Great British Giveaway. Great prizes, even greater wins.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good evening. I'm still here. It's 11 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and this is Ben Leo Tonight, late edition.
Gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's back to you. Far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Well, D-Day at the White House tomorrow as Trump and Zelenskyy prepare for a second meeting. European leaders, by the way, are flocking to Washington tonight to join in ahead of that crucial peace summit, including our very own dear leader, Sir Keir Starmer. Elsewhere, another day, another Strictly scandal in the Sun. This time, rugby star Chris Robshaw revealing his stalker terror. And alarming news stats in the Daily Express tomorrow. 10 million Brits are hooked on junk food, I think including me. Are you one of them? And warnings over rail nationalisation as experts warn fares could rise by another 5.5% next year. That's on top, by the way, of the 4.6% just gone. On the panel tonight, former Labour Minister Bill Rammell, comedian and GB News star